David Letterman's heart stopped when Muhammad Ali suddenly went silent mid-sentence, his hands trembling on the armrest. Paul Schaefer's fingers froze on the keyboard. The audience held its breath. And for the next 10 minutes, the man who called himself the greatest didn't throw a single punch, didn't recite a single poem, didn't perform a single magic trick. Instead, he did something far more powerful. He told the truth about what it cost to be a legend. What happened that night in 1984 wasn't just an interview, it was a warning. And NBC would spend decades trying to understand what America had witnessed. It was a Thursday night in September 1984, and Late Night with David Letterman was in full swing. The show had been on the air for 2 years and had found its identity as the irreverent alternative to traditional late-night television. David Letterman, 37 years old with his signature curly brown hair and gap-toothed grin, sat behind his wooden desk in Studio 6A at 30 Rockefeller Plaza, shuffling through his blue cue cards. The monologue had killed. The audience was electric. Paul Schaefer and the band were cooking. Everything was running smoothly. Letterman glanced at his notes for the next guest and felt a surge of genuine excitement. Muhammad Ali, the greatest, the most famous athlete on the planet, the man who transcended boxing to become a global icon. 30 seconds, the stage manager called out. Letterman straightened his tie and looked into the camera as the red light blinked on. "Welcome back," Letterman said, his voice carrying genuine anticipation. "Our next guest needs no introduction. He's a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He's the greatest. Ladies and gentlemen, Muhammad Ali." The audience exploded into thunderous applause and cheers. Paul Schaefer hit a triumphant, brassy riff on the keyboard, and the band launched into an energetic, celebratory groove. And from backstage, moving with that unmistakable Ali swagger, Muhammad Ali walked out. He was 42 years old now, retired from boxing for just a few years. He wore a dark suit with a white shirt and thin black tie. He was still imposing 6 feet 3 inches, broad-shouldered, moving with an athlete's grace. But something was different. His movements were slightly slower than they used to be. His hands had a subtle tremor. His face, still handsome and strong, seemed somehow heavier. The audience was on its feet, giving him a standing ovation. People were screaming his name. Some were crying. Ali smiled, that famous Ali smile, bright and confident, and he raised his fists in the classic boxing pose. The crowd went even wilder. He shadowboxed a few steps, dancing on his toes, doing the Ali shuffle. The audience ate it up. He reached Letterman, who had stood up, clearly starstruck. They shook hands, and Ali pulled him into a quick hug, patting him on the back. "Champ, thank you for being here," Letterman said, and there was no irony in his voice, just pure respect. "I'm glad to be here, David," Ali said. His voice was softer than it used to be, slightly slurred, but still unmistakably Ali. They sat down. Ali settled into the guest chair, adjusting himself, his hands resting on the armrest. Letterman couldn't help but notice the slight tremor in Ali's left hand. "How are you feeling?" Letterman asked. "I'm feeling pretty," Ali said with a grin. "I'm feeling fast. I'm feeling like the greatest." The audience laughed and applauded. This was the Ali they knew, the showman, the poet, the entertainer. "You look great," Letterman said. "Retirement's treating you well?" "Retirement?" Ali said, leaning forward with mock outrage. "I ain't retired. I'm just resting, getting ready for my comeback." The audience laughed again, but Letterman noticed something. Ali's smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "You're not serious," Letterman said. Ali's smile faded slightly. "No, I'm done. For real this time. How does that feel?" Ali was quiet for a moment. His hands moved slightly on the armrest, that tremor more visible now. "It feels strange. I've been fighting since I was 12 years old. That's 30 years of my life in the ring. And now it's over. And I don't know who I am without boxing." The audience had gone quieter. This wasn't the brash, confident Ali they expected. Letterman leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Ali looked down at his hand, then back up at Letterman. "I mean, I spent my whole life being Muhammad Ali, the fighter, the champion, the man who floated like a butterfly and stung like a bee. And now I can't do that anymore. My body won't let me. So who am I now?" The silence in the studio was profound. "You're still Muhammad Ali," Letterman said gently. "Am I?" Ali asked. "Or am I just a guy who used to be Muhammad Ali?" Paul Schaefer glanced over from the keyboard, his expression concerned. Letterman didn't know what to say. The ironic distance he usually maintained was completely gone. "Ali, you're one of the most famous people in the world. You're a legend. That doesn't go away. Ollie smiled sadly. You know what legends are, David? Legends are people from the past. People who used to do things. And I'm only 42 years old, and I'm already a legend. That means my life is already over, in a way. The best part of it, anyway. That can't be true, Letterman said. Can't it? Ollie's voice was getting rougher now. Everything I am, everything people know about me, it all comes from what I did in that ring. The fights, the championships, the trash talk, the poetry. But I can't do that anymore. My hands shake. He held them up, and everyone in the studio could see the tremor. My speech is slower. My body doesn't work the way it used to. He paused, his jaw working. And people look at me different now. They used to look at me and see the greatest. Now they look at me and see pity. And I hate that more than anything. What Ollie said next would shock everyone watching. Letterman's eyes were glistening. Ollie, nobody pities you. We admire you. Let me tell you something. Ollie interrupted, his voice suddenly stronger. And I want you to really hear this, because it's important. The entire studio went silent. I gave everything to boxing, Ollie said. Everything. My youth, my health, my brain. I took thousands of punches. Tens of thousands. George Foreman hit me. Joe Frazier hit me. Ken Norton broke my jaw. And every single one of those punches took something from me. A little piece of my brain. A little piece of my future. His hands were trembling more visibly now. And you know what the worst part is? I knew it was happening. Even while I was fighting, even while I was winning championships, I knew I was destroying myself. But I couldn't stop. Because being the greatest meant more to me than being healthy. Being famous meant more to me than being whole. Letterman put his hand over his mouth. His eyes were red. The doctors told me to retire after the Thrilla in Manila, Ollie continued. That was 1975, 9 years ago. They said I'd already taken too much damage, but I kept fighting. 3 more years, more punches, more damage, because I couldn't let go, because I didn't know how to be anything other than a fighter. He looked directly into the camera. If you're watching this at home, and you're young, and you're chasing something, a dream, a goal, whatever it is, please hear me. Don't sacrifice your health for glory. Don't destroy yourself for applause, because the applause stops. The championships end, and you're left with what you did to yourself, and you can't take it back. The silence in the studio was absolute. Some people in the audience were crying. Ollie turned back to Letterman. I'm scared, David. Letterman's voice cracked. Scared of what? Scared of what's coming, Ollie said. The doctors say I have something wrong with me. They're not sure what yet, but they know something's not right. My hands shake. My speech is getting worse, and it's only going to get worse from here. All those punches I took, I'm going to pay for them for the rest of my life. He smiled, but it was the saddest smile anyone had ever seen. I used to say I was the greatest, and I was. I really was. But you know what? Being the greatest doesn't protect you from consequences. Being the greatest doesn't heal brain damage. Being the greatest just means more people are watching when you fall apart. Letterman stood up from behind his desk. He walked over to Ollie and knelt down beside his chair, so they were at eye level. The cameras caught it all. Ollie, Letterman said, his voice thick with emotion. You're still the greatest, not because of what you did in the ring, because of who you are, because of your courage, because of your honesty. Ollie looked at him, eyes wet. You mean that? I mean it, Letterman said. Ollie nodded slowly. Then he did something unexpected. He stood up. Letterman stood too, confused. Ollie, we're still. I know, Ollie said, but I need to say something. To everyone here, to everyone watching. He walked to the front of the stage, toward the audience. The cameras followed. He stood at the edge, looking out at the faces staring back at him. How many of you have seen me fight? Ollie asked. Almost every hand in the audience went up. Ollie nodded. And when you watched me fight, what did you see? A champion, someone shouted. A warrior, someone else called out. The greatest, multiple voices yelled. Ollie smiled, but his eyes were sad. You saw what I wanted you to see. The confidence, the strength, the poetry, but you didn't see what it cost. You didn't see the pain. You didn't see me in the locker room after fights, unable to remember where I was. You didn't see me taking pills to deal with the headaches. You didn't see the price. He turned back to face the camera directly. And then Ollie said something that would haunt everyone forever. And then Ollie said something that would haunt everyone forever. I want to tell you about a conversation I had last week, Ollie said. I was sitting in my doctor's office when he looked at me and said, Muhammad, your brain is damaged permanently, and it's going to get worse. Ollie paused, and the first thing I thought was it worth it? All the championships, the glory, the fame, was it worth my health, my future, my mind? The studio went silent. Part of me says yes. Ollie continued. I changed boxing. I stood up for what I believed in. I inspired people. That matters. His voice strengthened, then broke again. But part of me says no, because I'm 42 years old and already losing pieces of myself. And someday I may not even remember being the greatest. Tears streamed down his face. He didn't wipe them away. If I can't remember it, did it even happen? He asked quietly. I destroyed myself for glory I might not even remember. The audience sobbed openly. Paul Schaefer covered his face. Letterman stood frozen at the edge of the stage. I'm not telling you this to make you sad, Ollie said. I'm telling you so you don't make my mistakes. There's more to life than greatness. There's health, family, peace. I sacrificed those to be the greatest. He stepped beside Letterman. I don't regret my beliefs. I don't regret fighting for civil rights. But I regret thinking I was invincible. He looked at Letterman. Nobody's invincible, not even the greatest. Letterman pulled him into a long embrace. Millions watched in silence. Ollie smiled softly. Thank you for letting me say that. Thank you for trusting me with it, Letterman whispered. Ollie turned to the audience. Being great is good, but being healthy and whole is better. He walked off stage. The audience rose slowly, applauding through tears. Letterman faced the camera. What you just saw wasn't a performance. It was a warning, a gift. He paused. If you're destroying yourself for success, please listen. Nothing is worth losing yourself. He ended the show immediately. No music, no credits, just silence. The next morning, NBC received over 20,000 phone calls. They weren't complaints. They were thank you. Ollie saved my son's life. I'm retiring from boxing because of what he said. That was the most important television I've ever watched. The episode aired once more the following week, then was archived. But the impact was lasting. Conversations about brain injury and athlete safety changed. Youth boxing programs increased protection. Doctors began speaking louder. Ollie received tens of thousands of letters. One, from a 15-year-old boxer, read, I watched with my dad. We cried. Then I told him I wanted to quit. He hugged me and said he was proud. Ollie carried that letter for years. In 1996, when Ollie lit the Olympic torch, his hands trembling from Parkinson, Letterman watched and cried. My only regret, Letterman later said, is that more people haven't seen it. Ollie could save lives. NBC has never released the full episode. Those who were there never forgot it, Paul Schaefer said. Ollie admitted fear and regret, and in doing so, became greater than he ever was in the ring. In one of his last interviews, Ollie was asked if he'd change anything. I would have stopped sooner, he said. I would have chosen health over glory. In Letterman's office hangs a photo from that night. Ollie at the edge of the stage, tears on his face. Beside it, a note Ollie sent later. That night, you let me be human. If I can save even one person, it was worth it. Letterman reads it often, and he remembers the night Muhammad Ali stopped being the greatest and became something even more powerful. A warning, a teacher, a gift. Because sometimes the most important lesson isn't how to win, but what winning costs and whether the price is worth paying. Muhammad Ali paid that price, so the rest of us wouldn't have to.